I think I went a bit too long on this one. Hi everyone, I'm Sanchit Batra and welcome back to the Poetry Challenge, where I write a poem every week and then record a video about it in which I do an in-depth analysis and also tell what I, as a poet, mean in between the lines. Now for this week, I had an entire day at my disposal, due to which I think I went too long on this one. And that is because this is a poem which has 9 paragraphs of 4 lines each. So you know it is long. So you know the drill, right? We go through a poem once and then the second reading we can analyze it line by line. So let's start. Peeping over the horizon came the first ray of dawn, sent out by the sun to roam the world lonely and forlorn. It signaled all alarms to go off at once and start the busy, bustling day of 8 billion humans. Among a popping toaster and a sizzling pan, coffee is brewed and eggs are beaten. Through a flurry of such activities, breakfasts all over are eaten. As people go off to work, bikes are kicked and engines revved. Somewhere in the ringing pockets, sighs of frustration are heaved. While the bosses shout and the customers argue, the deadlines approach nearer. But the employee treads on and on like the company's load bearer. The work begins among a noise of hammering keyboards and clicking mice as everyone rushes in the race of earning their daily bread and rice. It's 6 o'clock, the work is over, the deadline still not completed, and yet everyone retires feeling tired and defeated. Now to the clubs and parties, where the shouting music and dance add to the lives already sunk in the noisy trance. And so the world falls asleep into the night's darkness, the only time of day when silence holds the harness. So that was the poem. I want to tell you one thing about it. This was initially meant to be a poem focused on the topic of noise and how the current world, the earth in its current situation, is filled with a noisy day. However, once I completed it, I had written 8 paragraphs and I completed it and I thought that this seems to be more employee focused than the general life of a human being. So what I did was I added one paragraph somewhere in between, and that paragraph helped to make the poem more employee focused, and I changed the topic altogether. So the thing to be noticed here is the most noisy life I could think of was probably that of a corporate worker. So now let's go on to the poem. The first paragraph: peeping over the horizon came the first ray of dawn, sent out by the sun to roam the world lonely and forlorn. Now, this paragraph basically keeps the reader in suspense. We do not let the reader know that this poem is based upon noise. Rather, we use the term lonely and forlorn to depict the idea of gloom. We are taking a peaceful environment in the beginning, that of dawn when the sun is rising. Then we are taking a single ray that comes out of the sun. That is a means for us to come to the earth and take it as the viewing point of the poem. And then the last line, to roam the world lonely and forlorn, already introduces the idea of gloom and sadness, which prevails, but it also prevails with an extra element of noise which is not yet present in the first paragraph. Then we go on to the second paragraph. It signaled all alarms to go off at once and start the busy, bustling day of 8 billion humans. Now, in this paragraph, what we are seeing is that it basically comes as a jump scare, right? From the peace and the silence of the first paragraph, we come to billions of alarms ringing around the world in just the other line. So here also the last two lines, and start the busy bustling day of 8 billion humans, show just how much cooperated the world is, that how well we have coordinated all our activities into a way that we all can efficiently manage the complex world we have built together. And then moving on to the third paragraph, among a popping toaster and a sizzling pan, coffee is brewed and eggs are beaten. Through a flurry of such activities, breakfasts all over are eaten. And then we move on in the day. We have come to the time when the people are now eating breakfast. And this paragraph has a lot of noises in it. So you see the popping toaster, the sizzling pan, the brewing coffee, the eggs that are being beaten, and this all really reinforces the idea that the life we are talking about is not a silent one, it is a noisy one. Also, one question that I want to keep up to you, that I as the poet am asking the reader through this paragraph, is that think about it. An employee or any worker in general works for one goal, which is to eat a meal thrice a day. That is like the basic goal everyone has, to have a sufficient sumptuous meal thrice a day. This paragraph shows the reader how even that one reward, that one goal for which we are working, isn't being relished properly. I, as the poet, want to ask you, do you think that if we all are working for that one reward, we shouldn't even relish that peacefully? We shouldn't even relish that in like the best manner possible, or should we like take it in just like it's just it has become a task to be completed and not a reward to be enjoyed? That is the point of this paragraph. Moving on to the next one, as people go off to work, bikes are kicked and engines revved. Somewhere in the ringing pockets, sighs of frustration are heaved. This paragraph has one very important motive which needs to be delivered to the reader, which is that the day has barely started. We are just on the fourth paragraph yet. It's not even afternoon. We are going to work, and people are already frustrated. People are already tired because their body is being overwhelmed by all the auditory and visual stimuli that is around them. So we are saying that people are going off to work, everyone's using their own individual vehicles like bikes and cars, engines revved. Basically, what you'll notice is this poem focuses a lot on onomatopic words, right? So you'll see a lot of onomatopic words in this poem, because that was one of the things that was going on in my mind while writing this, that I have to use those words to keep the spirit of this poem that of noise. And then we are moving on to the next paragraph. While the bosses shout and the customers argue, the deadlines approach nearer, but the employee treads on and on like the company's load bearer. Now, if you, the viewer, are a corporate worker, or if you work in any of the big multinational companies, then this paragraph might be very relatable for you. I'm not saying it's relatable for all of you. In general, this is what I think happens most of the time, which is that shouting bosses, arguing customers, deadlines, and all of that stress building up in your brain, but the employee treads on and on like the company's load bearer. This paragraph goes on to show that that single employee, that inconsequential part of the company whom no one even thinks about in the higher executive sectors, that is actually the fundamental unit. That employee is the unit due to which the company is going on and on. He is the company's load bearer, right? So then we move on to the next paragraph. The work begins among a noise of hammering keyboards and clicking mice, as everyone rushes in the race of earning their daily bread and rice. So we are now depicting the day, the working hours of the employee, which start like, yeah, again, there's a lot of noise in the office place, in the workplace as well. Keyboards hammering, mice clicking all around them, a lot of stimuli, as I said earlier. Everyone rushes in the race of earning their daily bread and rice. While in the previous paragraph, we told that the employee is constantly working, constantly trudging on and on to carry the company's load. This paragraph shows why the employee does that. This paragraph shows what is the motive that the employee has in mind. That is to earn their daily bread and rice, which directly correlates to the question I asked you in the breakfast paragraph, right? So this paragraph shows that this is the employee's goal when he does all that work. Also, this paragraph goes on to show that not only are humans satisfied with a meal thrice a day, that is the minimum thing we want, but also we are running in a race. Everyone not only wants to earn, but they want to earn more than anyone else. So that is the race that is being talked about in the third line, as everyone rushes in the race. Moving on to the next paragraph. It's 6 o'clock, the work is over. The deadline still not completed. And yet everyone retires feeling tired and defeated. So we move on in the day. It's 6 o'clock, the work is over, but the deadlines are still not completed, which means that the work that was meant to be done has still not been done. Everyone retires feeling tired and defeated, and that is the word defeated is being used in the last line. That is because even though the employee was working hard, the employee was putting his heart and soul into the work, he could not complete it. And this paragraph wants to directly talk to like the higher executive positions in a company. This paragraph wants to say that even though sometimes the results might not be what are expected, the employee is still working. Even though sometimes the results of the work might not be as impressive as were expected, the work was still done, right? But then again, even fundamentally, physics has that principle that if displacement equals to zero, work done equals to zero. So moving on to the next paragraph. Now to the clubs and parties, where the shouting music and dance add to the lives already sunk in the noisy trance. So yeah, it's 6 o'clock, everyone goes back to their home, and silence probably? Psych. No. Everyone has still got to go to the clubs and parties, especially the younger generation, and then the loud music and dance ringing in their ears add to the lives already sunk in the noisy trance. Which means, while we think that going to the clubs and parties relaxes us, that is not actually the case. When your day is already drowned in noise, how can more noise help you? Rather, what would help you is that you should have a moment of silence, probably. Yeah, once your work is over, have a moment of silence, sit at home, meditate, or do whatever you want, but just don't go into more noise. That does not relaxes your brain, that just stresses it out more. And then the last paragraph. And so the world falls asleep into the night's darkness, the only time of day when silence holds the harness. And this time, for real, everyone has retired, everyone is asleep, and this night time when you are sleeping is the only time of day when silence prevails and noise subsides. And that is where I end the poem, on a note of silence. And yet, the reader should not forget that after this sleep, the poem begins again and the noisy day has to start again. This silence is not permanent. So, this poem for me was basically a way of expressing how I, a 14-year-old, sees the work of a corporate worker. This is my perception of the current condition, the current status quo of the corporate industry, basically. Yeah. So that was the poem for this week. If you liked it, if you think it matches with your experience, then please tell me in the comments below. Also, this poem was meant to be the employee and not a employee, which means this entire thing may not happen with a single employee, but each one of us working in the corporate industry can find a line or a paragraph that we can all relate to deeply. And that was my motive with this poem. If you have ideas or topics for what my next poem should be, please tell me in the comment section below. If you want to follow me in the challenge and help me out and probably participate yourself, tag your poems with the hashtag given in the description below, which is a poet's odyssey. And then you can also subscribe to the channel, which means you'll be notified when the next poem comes out. And that was all for this week. See you next time. This is me, Sanchit Batra, signing out for now.